I am Daniel Lucas, and welcome to Book 101 Review. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years, and today I have my special guest. He's a debut author and the author of the book The Layoff Journey, no other than Mr. Steve Jaffe.
Hi, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Welcome to Book 101, Mr. Steve, and can you please introduce more about yourself?
Sure, yeah. I'm Steve Jaffe, and I'm a debut self-published author. My book was just published last Wednesday. You can find it on Amazon. There it is. It's titled The Layoff Journey From Dismissal to Discovery, Navigating the Stages of Grief After Job Loss. And I have been wanting to write a book for quite a long time now. I've been told by family and friends and acquaintances that they thought I was a good writer and I should write. And I agreed with them to a certain degree. I just didn't have the subject matter really that I wanted to spend the time and effort or that I thought I could really contribute anything on. And the summer of 2023, the idea came to me that the idea of writing a book that would help people navigate grief after job loss. I went through my first layoff in 2001, and it was really difficult for me to process the emotions around it. By 2023, I sailed right through it, and it was no problem. And I realized I had developed some coping skills and a way of managing those emotions that allowed me to process it and move through it without it being really difficult. And I wanted to share those processes and the things that I had learned to manage grief with the folks that I was laid off with. And that was the genesis of the idea and what ultimately became the book. So I'm excited to release it, and I'm excited for everybody to read it and hopefully help a few people. Unfortunately, layoffs are becoming even more common than they ever were. And, layoffs were something that the public sector dealt with quite frequently, whether you were in finance or media, technology, and now the private sector with the changes happening through the federal government. And those layoffs, it's becoming even more pronounced than it ever has been.
Mr. Steve Jaffe, thank you so much for sharing your book to the world. And we are looking forward for more and more and more empowering book like this. So how does job loss compare to other major life losses in terms of emotional impact?
Yeah, the stages of grief don't really change whether you have the death of a loved one, you have a divorce. I write in the book that I put this a layoff up there with kind of the Mount Rushmore of life events that really challenge you in a way that can stop you in your tracks. So the stages of grief were originally created by Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, specific to the death of a loved one. And there were 5 of them. And over time, additional 2 have been added. And one of the things that I talk about is the stages of grief aren't really linear. You don't go through from one to another to another. They may happen concurrently. They may happen all at once. Some may never manifest. And in one day, you may experience all or none of them. So it's unique to each individual. It's unique to each circumstance. But those 7 stages tend to be how people deal with really traumatic, emotionally difficult life changes and life experiences.
So, Mr. Steve, what are the 5 stages of grief associated with a job loss and how do they manifest?
Yeah. So the 7 stages include denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance, reconstruction, and renewal. And those, while they follow each one, again, it tends to be very nonlinear. But in a way, when someone tells you unexpectedly, thank you, we're terminating your position immediately, and you're no longer employed, a flood of emotions come over you. And some are physical, some are emotional, and everyone processes those differently. Personally, when I've been laid off, I tend to go on kind of this automatic mode where in some ways I won't really hear what's being said because I'm kind of starting to shut down. I'm starting to shut down emotionally and kind of detach myself. So when I look back, there are parts of the conversation sometimes that I may not remember because I'm starting to kind of shut down. People may get flush with sweat. They may have an increased heart rate. Everyone's emotional response is different. But the key thing is, because the impact is on your mind, body, and spirit, the recovery has to be focused on mind, body, and spirit and a whole body approach. So the thing that I talk about in the book is really mind, body, spirit, all of those things that need to come together in order to process and recover, and ultimately find resilience so that when you do find your next job, you're prepared and you are setting yourself up for success, and you're not carrying that baggage into your next job and letting it hinder you.
So, Mr. Steve, why is it important to acknowledge and process emotions after being laid off?
Yeah. You know, there are a variety of really dramatic side effects. For some folks, depression can come with a layoff. There are studies that have been done where after someone is laid off, there is an increase in potential divorce or separation of relationships. Physical health can deteriorate to a point where really dramatic impacts, like an increase in heart attack, for example. There's a whole host of physical manifestations that if you don't work through these, and emotional manifestations that if you don't work through these, they end up not only holding you back, but can have even more severe side effects as well. So, one of the most significant is you have a loss of paycheck. And with that loss of paycheck, there are really crucial financial implications of job loss. Those financial implications then have other ways of manifesting, again, whether it's relationship, physical manifestations, emotional manifestations, that if you don't face them head on, they can compound each other. And now you're not only dealing with the loss of a job, but maybe you're dealing with the loss of your house, the loss of a loved one from the separation. So it's really important that you understand how your body and mind and spirit are being affected, and you use the appropriate coping mechanisms to kind of help get yourself back on track. That will then help you ultimately in the job search and landing a successful job, and successfully interviewing, landing a successful job, and moving on so that you can put this behind you and you don't carry it forward as baggage.
What are the common signs of depressions or anxiety that can arise after a layoff?
Yeah, detachment is a really big one, and it's one that is kind of a side effect of a layoff, where sometimes your support network through your job, your friends, your colleagues, maybe some mentors, people you admire, look up to. When you lose your job, you lose that support network as well. So you have to build a new support network. You have to find those people that you can trust, that will be um, uh, people that will help, that you can lean on during these difficult times. that same support network can also be a great lifeline to a new job. But building that support network is really crucial. Establishing some healthy practices around maybe getting some regular exercise. There's a lot of natural chemicals that your brain releases in exercise and physical activity, whether it's serotonin, dopamine, oxytocin. Those natural chemicals will allow your brain to fight off those feelings of depression. So, yeah,
Go ahead.
and yeah, and other things, whether it's simple meditation, simple breathing exercises, eating well, making sure you're limiting alcohol intake, you're getting enough sleep and rest. All of those things are like money in the bank, deposits you can make that are excellent ways to fight off depression, so that you're replacing any potential negative responses with real strong, healthy ones.
So, Mr. Steve, let's talk about shifting mindset from loss to opportunity. How can someone shift from a mindset of defeat to one of resilience?
Yeah, yeah. That's one of the things I really love to talk about. I'm glad you asked. I think historically, there has been a lot of shame and embarrassment around being laid off. People somehow feel like maybe they've done something wrong and they're being punished for something. The reality is, layoffs are indiscriminate, they're nonlinear, they're very subjective, and they don't even really take performance um, into consideration. So when you start to understand that you've not done anything wrong, a layoff is simply the easiest way that a company can um, recoup revenue. Layoffs are easier than increasing sales, and they have a much quicker and more direct line to the bottom line for a company. So, unfortunately, what should be the last resort is usually the first thing that they turn to in difficult times. Um, an interesting statistic is about 40% of all Americans have been laid off from a job at least once. When you start to realize that significant of a number, you start to understand that you're not alone. Um, a lot of other people have gone through this, but not everybody talks about it because of that shame and embarrassment. So, what I hope to do is shed some light on the topic in a way that people feel more comfortable talking about it. They recognize they're not alone. It's more prevalent than ever you could ever imagine. Unfortunately, it's becoming even more prevalent. Um, but that then puts you at a position not as a victim of this, unfortunate circumstance. It puts you in a place that allows you to move through it and understanding there was nothing you could have done to prevent it. It was beyond your control, and that understanding allows you then to not ask questions like, "What if? What could I have done? How could I try and maybe work harder or be a better performer?" So I think that's a piece of the most important mindset change, is understanding that while you had no control over it, you certainly have control over how you respond to it and how you move forward and you move through it without letting it drag you down or hold you back in the future.
Very well said, Mr. Steve. Very well said. So, what would be your advice for those people out there that had been laid off?
Yeah, yeah. Um, I would say be gentle with yourself. Take some time, take a minute, take care of yourself. Know that you're not alone, and know that there are a lot of other people experiencing the same thing that you're going through. And there's a lot of um, groups. Obviously, the book is one of them. But when I was laid off in 2001, there was no resources. There was no social media. There were no, blogs or anything like that. There's a lot of groups out there right now that help provide that community and support. So I would find that. I would find those groups that you identify with that make you feel uh, I guess happy is one of the things.
Yes.
One of the things I say in the book, I'm going to give away the price of the book right now. The advice that I say is worth everything is find some folks that make you laugh in this difficult time.
True.
Um, the best medicine is some laughter. Finding some humor in the experience is a good way to give it some levity and to take away some of its power. So, and I would also just highly recommend people think about a whole body approach to how they respond. Think about everything that they can do to put themselves in a healthy mind, body, spirit, so that as you navigate this difficult terrain, you're doing it from a position of strength.
Thank you for your advice, Mr. Steve. And what is your short-term and long-term goals as a writer?
Short-term goals is to really help as many people as I can with this book, and try and get as many people aware of it as I can. So podcasts like this are a great start. I've enjoyed the process, and like I said at the beginning, I've wanted to be a writer for quite a long time. And now, having gone through this exercise, I really want to continue to do it. So I see another book in my future. I'm not quite sure what the subject matter will be. And I would love to have the option of being published by one of the larger publishing houses. This was self-published, and I enjoyed that experience. I don't feel compelled to be published by a major publisher, but I would like to have the option if it's available to me. So ultimately, I think I'd like to continue to help people from the experience that I've gained, and have a little contribution to the world of books in that way.
Good luck to your goals, Mr. Steve, and looking forward for more books to come. So, how can entrepreneurship or freelancing be a viable option after job loss?
Yeah. This is a great time where the world of part-time fractional work is available more than it ever has been. You can translate the experience into smaller kind of part-time freelance jobs. There's so many different opportunities now to put yourself out there and find those opportunities. Personally, I'm still doing marketing consulting, even as I'm promoting this book launch. And it allows me to do it, though, kind of more on my terms, which I've also found pretty empowering. So, part of this book talks about pivots and how somebody can use the layoff as kind of a reset button to examine their life trajectory, their work trajectory, and see if it's in line with where they like to be and where their values are. And for some, that could be consulting, could be freelance. It could be a much larger pivot into another industry or something altogether different. So everybody's journey is unique, but I think if there is any value in being laid off, it's allowing yourself some space to examine what your priorities are and how you want to achieve your own individual goals, whether it be career, life, or otherwise.
So, Mr. Steve, what are some inspiring success stories of people who turn layoff into a breakthrough?
Yeah. There's one that I really like a lot. Uh, I'll give away the punchline at the end. So she started off as a Olympic ice skater. She went on and had a very successful career as a fashion editor at a very large fashion magazine. Um, but neither of those, um, she wasn't able to go to the Olympics. I don't know if I said she went to the Olympics, but she actually wasn't able to go to the Olympics. And she got laid off from her job as the editor of the fashion magazine. And with both of those dreams kind of somewhat crushed, she made quite a large pivot into being a fashion designer and started off making women's wedding dresses and ultimately became very successful kind of in her third act as a fashion designer. That was Vera Wang. And Vera Wang is definitely a great example of somebody who had a lot of tenacity and resilience and didn't let those setbacks define her.
So, Mr. Steve, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to our podcast, Food 101, in its fifth season, people. Fifth season with Chef Alessandro, one of the specialty chef in one of the five-star hotel in downtown Toronto. So please do listen to our latest episode. We are reading our letter senders all over the world. So, Mr. Steve, how can individuals support others going through a job loss in their community?
Oh boy. Um, you know, I would invite you to find a local Facebook group. I've found Facebook groups to be really, really helpful. There are, depending on where you live, some really great blogs. There's a great blog that's on Substack and Discord. It's called Laid Off. A woman named Melanie started it. And it's a great network of very like-minded people going through all the same things that anybody who's recently been laid off is going through. So I would find those, and I would talk to folks. There are a lot of great um, um, conversations happening over Slack, over LinkedIn, again, Discord, Substack. There's no shortage of media outlets, and there's a lot of creators in this space right now talking about the impact of layoffs. So they may differ based on geography and what particular industry you came from, but I think they'll only increase as the layoffs with the federal government start increasing.
Mr. Steve Jaffe, thank you so much for sharing the layoff journey. And we are looking forward for more and more and more empowering books like this. So can you please invite our listeners to support the layoff journey?
Yeah. You can find me at thestevejaffe.com, and you can also purchase the book on Amazon. Just type in the search bar, The Layoff Journey. And you can also email me anytime if you have a particular story or you're looking to connect or you want help finding resources in your community. You can reach me at steve@thestevejaffe.com. I'd love to connect. You can find me on LinkedIn. But I recommend the book for anybody going through a recent layoff.
Yes, people, let's support Mr. Steve Jaffe because if you support him, as I said, more and more and more empowering books like this. So, Mr. Steve, thank you for your time.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
More to come, people. See you soon.